Hi, I'm Olivia Reynolds. I am with Healing Hearts Trauma. I am a licensed professional psychotherapist and a certified trauma therapist. So I took many classes and courses on trauma. I used to be one of the biggest trainers for resiliency and trauma when I worked for children and youth for a long time. And so there's a bunch of different things with the ACEs and things on trauma. But today I want to work through teaching everyone about the trauma response and the specifics of CPTSD. So I do a lot of work with PTSD and then CPTSD, a little bit different between the two because there's different types of therapy treatment for it. This is probably my most favorite subject to talk about besides personality disorders, because that used to be my jam when I first started in the field. And then I became into trauma, which I think kind of removes personality disorders, but those are so popular because of pop psychology. Everyone is more familiar with labeling people horrible things besides knowing everything is related to trauma. So the biggest things to tape about trauma that I like to tell everyone mostly is about the brain. The most important things to learn, and this might be a little bit boring, but it's really, really interesting when you actually learn about it. Our short-term memory is stored right here, right? It's the prefrontal cortex. The long-term memory is stored back here. So when things happen to us through life, anything traumatic, and people are like, trauma? No, I wasn't sexually abused or physically abused. That has nothing to do with trauma. Trauma is anything that causes stress in our body and makes us respond in some type of way because of the stress, right? Post-traumatic stress is more specific to one specific incident that caused a specific stressor and response, such as like war. Every time I hear bombs going off, it reminds me of that one specific event. Where CPTSD is more complexities of lots of different stressors throughout life, from our parents, from relationships to coworkers, to just anything, right? So that one is a lot more involved because it's a lot of different complexities that are causing us to respond to all kinds of stimuli. So the brain has a lot to do with how our nervous system is wired to handle these stressors, and everyone is different. Everyone's perception's different, everyone's nervous system's different, and the way that their body handles stress, right? So the prefrontal cortex right here is the part of the brain that stores the shortest term memory. So when we talk about emotional dysregulation, it's so easy to grab because it's right here. So if anything just happened to me and I haven't learned to store this memory back here in hindsight, back in the long-term memory, then it's going to be easy, easy, easy. And there's one little piece of this that plays a part is the amygdala. It's the shape of my fingernails, which are almond shaped, right? Little tiny part of the brain. It is the biggest part of the brain, though, and a part of the emotional control center, right? So when this thing is hijacked, I try to say it like it's been slimed, like Nickelodeon slime. And if you don't know what that is, let's just think of like throwing something sticky all over it. It gets immobilized. It doesn't know what to do, right? It is the part of the brain that controls how we respond to something that causes an emotional response. See my videos on feelings and emotional intelligence, and you'll know what we're talking about with feelings. So the amygdala is responsible for controlling our emotions. So anytime we feel something in here, then the amygdala is how we're going to respond if it's some type of a stress, right? So if it's a triggered memory of something that we experienced that was highly sensitive, we're going to respond to it differently. And then our body's going to go in the natural states of defense. We're animalistic. We are meant to survive. We are taught ourselves how to go into survival mode to protect ourselves, right? So we either fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. So I'm going to explain each one of these, all right? So fight types, if the mailman was coming into the yard, they're going to get big, they're going to get loud, they're going to show their teeth, they're going to teach that if I get loud enough to scare you, you're going to leave me alone. Fight types don't necessarily want to fight, they're just more so able to be verbally assaultive and the need to protect themselves if someone's coming after them. For example, a younger child being attacked by another sibling or someone who's hovering over them, and they're like, leave me alone, and that doesn't work. Leave me alone, and they're like, leave me alone, and then that works, right? So the more voluminous we get, are we showing our teeth, or we're growling at each other, think of animals, right? If I can scare you, you're going to leave me alone. Right? Don't make me get out the guns. Don't make me get out the weapons, right? Because I don't want to have to do that. But I'm just trying to neutralize you. Other ways to fight is to say hurtful things, to be assaultive or punitive, right? Parents who are very punitive or abrasive and berating to their children can be very, what we would term labels of narcissist, very, very just aggressive, saying things like, oh, you're so stupid, or, just berating them in ways like, yeah, you just did that. Didn't you see what you did? Why did you do that? And they just keep over and over, and their tone gets very aggressive, and their body language changes it. And like I said, hair starts standing up, teeth start to come out. And not everyone is directly like that, right? So the flight type, they're going to sense the threat as go. Run with my tail between the legs. Out of here. They're done. Flighters. I'm running away. As soon as any type of threat comes to them, their first thought is, I'm done. I don't want to talk about this anymore. I'm out of here. This is overwhelming me. Oh, I'm on fire. I'm on fire. Out. Flight types are more prone to obsessive compulsive disorders. They will make sure every little situation stays the way they want it, so it makes their little bubble safe. So they will do anything that they can control and obsessive compulsive about it. Not always, but it's also left brain dissociation. They will remove themselves. As children, flight types will keep themselves busy by getting into sports or anything they can to stay away from any type of threat. If something becomes threatening to them, they're going to run and they're going to go do something else to distract themselves. Freeze types are more prone to right brain dissociation, and they are known to be more prone to ADD, alcohol and substance use disorders, and even potentially domestic violence relationships, because they freeze. They don't know what to do. They get overwhelmed. They shut down and they dissociate. And so because of that, think of a child being scared so much of this big bad bear beating them up or yelling at them. They don't know what to do. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. They freeze, right? And they might just go hide in the room and watch TV for hours. An adult that is in the freeze state will just go home and drink themselves all night long because whatever stress, like work just sucked, or something else they're trying to like escape from, right? Dissociating all day long. Just, I don't want to feel it. Sometimes rape victims completely just like, with sexual partners, completely just dissociate and zone out, be thinking about something else the whole time they're in a sexual intimate relationship, because they don't know how to be present. They freeze when it comes to certain situations, so it has to be safe for them. Freeze types also just, they veg out. Just think about, a child watching TV and their parents think they have ADHD, they might have trauma. And they're just standing there and they're like, did you hear me? And they're like just zoned out because all the stress that's going on around them, it's the only thing that makes them stay safe. They can just literally put a bubble around themselves. And lastly, we have the fawn. The fawners are the classic caretakers, or the people pleasers. They're the sweet, sugary ones that do for everyone else but themselves. They don't know how to do anything for themselves. And they're actually more so the most fundamentally developmentally arrested, because they have no sense of identity, because they spend all their time pleasing other people. Fawners are fantastic neutralizers because they know how to be the peacekeeper. And the family systems theory, they're known as the enabler, or the golden child sometimes. So each system has their own kind of like ways of expressing these kind of responses within family systems. So fawn types are the only one that is called a hybrid. And I get all this information mostly from this book from Pete Walker. He added the 4F. We've always had the 3Fs, but the 4th F came in. And actually, there's a lot of research on the fawn before this anyways. It was just called, the caretaker role, and a lot of other different books. But anyways, it's a very difficult role because they fundamentally feel arrested. They believe the rights and admission to any relation is giving up the forfeiture of their rights and needs. Okay, whatever you want, I'll do it for you. Because they want to just keep the peace. And if they think they can do it that way, they'll be liked. They'll be loved. If I do everything for this, I pour my heart into you, you're going to give to me. You're going to fill my bucket up. Because they just want to make everyone feel good, so then they feel good. The struggle with that is sometimes they don't get their own needs met. So they have to learn how to set the balance and make sure, am I doing this because I'm expecting something, or am I doing this because I want to, right? And it's really, really hard to break these. So I will do a video on each one of these and get more in depth. There's a lot of healing steps for each one of those. This is a fight. It's really hard. There are fawn fights, there are fawn flights, and there are fawn freezes. So one is called the scapegoat. One is called the super nurse, and one is called the smother mother when they're in a hybrid role. Meaning if your highest is the fawn, and you can find out your type by going on and typing in 4F's quiz and finding out your trauma response, so we can learn to figure out how to deactivate the amygdala from being hijacked and going into hypervigilance. Again, follow me for other content. This stuff on trauma is very, very interesting and helps us learn how to emotionally regulate when we're in a state of hypervigilance.